You know, sometimes the most profound truths are hidden in the simplest places. We're going to look at a short passage from the book of Proverbs, one that talks about an ant. But what it reveals is a powerful and kind of quiet danger. How our lives can unravel not from some big dramatic event, but from the simple act of doing nothing.
It all starts right here with this command from Proverbs chapter 6, verse 6. It's basically saying, hey, stop, look down. It's a call to observe this tiny creature in the natural world and in its ways to find some deep, life-changing wisdom.
So let's do exactly that. Let's start with the lesson we can learn from the ant.
Now, the fascinating thing here is that the immediate warning isn't about some huge, obvious sin. The danger it's diagnosing is much more subtle. It's a slow drift. It's the quiet, creeping neglect that, over time, can completely unravel a life. And we have to put ourselves back in their time. For the people who first heard this in ancient Israel, this wasn't just a nice little metaphor. This was about survival. Their entire lives were built around the seasons, planting, harvesting. If you ignored the right time to work, you didn't eat. It was a recipe for disaster. So for them, the ants' hard work was a life-or-death lesson they saw every single day. So let's look at how this drift, this unraveling, actually takes hold. This brings us to the danger of small delays. The passage actually gives us the inner monologue of the person who's drifting. And notice how it starts. It's not some grand declaration of laziness. It's just a little sleep. Sounds harmless, right? What's wrong with a little sleep? And then the pattern just repeats itself. A little slumber. It's basically the same idea, just said a different way. And this repetition is so important. It shows us that this is a habit, a constant mindset of just putting things off for a moment. And finally, a little folding of the hands to rest. This finishes the mantra of delay. See, each choice by itself feels tiny, insignificant, but you stack them up, one after another, and that's how the slow drift becomes a powerful current. And here's the paradox that's at the heart of it all. The process, the cause of the ruin, is slow. It's gradual. It's made up of all those little delays. But the outcome, when it finally hits, it feels sudden and shocking. Proverbs chapter 6, verse 11 says poverty comes on you like a robber. It feels like an ambush, even though you're the one who left the door unlocked, one small delay at a time. Okay, so if that's the problem, what's the answer? Well, the text points us right back to the ant for the solution. This is about wisdom's internal discipline. The really crucial observation from Proverbs chapter 6, verse 7 is what the ant doesn't have. It has no chief barking orders, no officer checking up on it, no ruler forcing it to work. There's zero external pressure making it do what needs to be done. And that teaches us something huge. True wisdom isn't just about doing the right thing because someone is making you. It's about a discipline that comes from the inside. It's a matter of the heart, a deep conviction that drives you to act, even when nobody is watching. So what fuels this internal drive? It's future awareness. The ant works like crazy in the summer because it knows winter is on its way. It lives today in light of what's coming tomorrow. And that's what wisdom is. The ability to act now because you understand what's on the horizon. Now, this ancient wisdom about ants and work, it actually points to a much deeper spiritual truth. So let's explore that in our next section, the truly faithful worker. Because the real issue here isn't just about physical work. It's about spiritual drift. It's about that human tendency we all have to put off the things that matter most, not because we're rebellious, but just out of comfort or distraction. We all delay obedience. We all neglect the things of God. But there is one who never drifted, not for a moment. Jesus Christ said in John chapter 4, verse 34, that his very food, his nourishment, was to do the will of the Father. He lived with this perfect, divine urgency. He never wasted a season. You can see this so clearly in the Garden of Gethsemane. In the most critical hour of human history, Jesus tells his closest friends, watch and pray, which we read in Matthew chapter 26, verse 41. And what do? They fall asleep. They drift. But Jesus, he stays awake, perfectly watchful, perfectly faithful. And this just lays out the stark contrast. Our story so often is one of delayed obedience, neglected priorities, wasted time. His story is one of complete obedience, perfect fulfillment. He finished the work God gave him to do. He accomplished what we never could. And then on the cross, he declared that the work was done. His last words, recorded in John chapter 19, verse 30, were not, "I am finished," but "it is finished." The single most important work in the history of the world was accomplished, perfectly and right on time.
So, what does this perfect work of Christ mean for us, for people who so often drift? Well, that brings us to our final section, an invitation to awaken. Here's the good news. Jesus doesn't just give us a good example of diligence to try and copy. He gives us the power to actually wake up. Ephesians chapter 5, verse 14 gives this incredible invitation. Awake, O sleeper, and Christ will shine on you. And that's the bottom line. What we need isn't just more self-discipline. We need a complete transformation. Left to ourselves, our default setting is to drift. But in Christ, we are awakened to a brand new life, empowered by His Spirit to live with purpose and to see what truly matters. And so that ancient wisdom from the ant comes all the way down to us today with a deeply personal question we all have to ask ourselves. Where am I saying just a little later to something that God is calling me to do right now? Remember, a life doesn't usually collapse in a sudden explosion. It just fades, one small delay at a time. But we are not left alone in our drift. True wisdom is found when we awaken to the finished work of Jesus Christ, who gives us the grace to act now, before that robber ever arrives.